No, I'm not saying Claypool is a guarantee. Remember, the Claypool thing is if Deontay doesn't work out, Claypool will be there.
Do you want to hedge in a tournament?
It is a hedge.
So you're okay hedging in a tournament.
But again, who are you going to take instead of that hedge? You're literally any other player you could take
MVS. You could take Sky Moore. You could take
MVS's value is going to start to increase when people realize he's the number one wide receiver for the Chiefs. I think people are just kind of.
I do not think he's the number one.
I think people are still kind of looking at the ambiguity there.
Yeah.
So
I don't think.
But other
all those
players,
reports came out and basically nobody was healthy in camp.
Okay, we're not talking about the Chiefs right now. Okay. Other players that you're taking around where Claypool is taking. They literally have the same type of potential value as what I see in Claypool. But
Claypool is the only one that can hurt the value of Deontay on that same team.
I don't think he hurts it. I don't think he hurts it up because look like this. You draft Deontay in the 4th.
Yeah.
You don't draft Claypool. Somebody else drafts Claypool.
Okay.
If Claypool still goes off, he's still in what you're saying hurting Deontay's value, right? Yeah. He's just on somebody else's team.
So instead of him shouldn't have drafted Deontay then.
You don't know what's going to happen. Right now, the value is Deontay's in the 4th, and that's it.
So you live and die with Deontay, then is what you're saying?
I'm saying if you're entering like a home league, probably best you could definitely play it safe in that scenario. I feel like in a tournament, I'm not saying you can't win like that, and I'm not necessarily even saying it's a bad, but I can 100% see, and I think I lean with the side that if I'm taking Deontay and then drafting Claypool with the idea that I'm kind of hedging.
But okay, maybe I said that wrong. Maybe I didn't fully explain it. I'm not targeting Claypool.
Yeah.
I'm taking Claypool at value if he's there for me. If I see other players that I don't feel like has the same type of value as Claypool, I'm not going to skip Claypool just because they have Deontay.
100% agree.
And go with somebody
else. I've done that with Diggs and D.
Right.
Welcome to First and 15, the only podcast that's trying to get you paid. I'm here with two-time FFPC champion AB. Alongside him is my guy, Dio the Machine. Guys, listen, we are drafting right now, but I want to talk about this concept of drafting two receivers on the same team. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers for a second. How do you guys see drafting Claypool and Deontay? Like, do you want to draft two players on the same team? How do you guys see that receiver room in general?
Well, definitely not that team. I mean, I guess you can, it depends on how you're trying to how you're trying to build your team. Obviously, in best ball, I think people are trying to come up with as many unique stacks as possible to try and be different from the field, but I feel like the entire field is likely doing that. So I couldn't, best ball, I couldn't necessarily argue that. But redraft, I think, is something that I would try to avoid unless you're getting both players at cost and you feel comfortable starting them. Problem is that, one player is catching the ball, the other player is not. So it's something that I definitely battle with. If I'm going to do it, I want to do it on offenses that I have a lot of confidence in, that I expect to, score a lot of points. And so it's with the wide receiver combo or running back wide receiver combo. And again, like value and where you're getting these guys, I think is very important. So, we'll talk about the Seattle wide receiver room after kind of discussing this, but, this offense is not really something where I'm thinking like I want to be trying to get a lot of shares at, a pretty significant cost, which is what I see. Deontay right now is going in the 4th round, and he can definitely, pay off that 4th round value. But I felt like what we've seen from him the last 2 years, which has been great. We've always been Deontay guys here. We've been very much in his camp throughout the years, but we were getting him at value. Now you're having, I remember starting the season off, we were, he was going in the early, late 3rd round, but he's still going in the 4th round now, and I don't think he's not going to lose you your tournament, but like that early on in draft, I'm looking for guys who have the potential to take that next step, and I just don't see that with them.
Yeah, for me, so specifically talking about Deontay and Chase, I'm actually cool with taking both of them. Deontay, like you said, is being taken in the 4th. Yeah. Chase, on the other hand, is being taken like in the 9th to 11th round. So where you're taking Chase, you're actually taking him more of a depth piece than a starter. And once you start talking about backups, all bets are off for me personally, because it's like you're having players that you're only going to utilize if necessary. It's not somebody you're depending on. Specifically talking about Deontay first, I still like where he's going. I actually don't mind taking him in the 4th because he's a guy that, he's always had Big Ben, but Big Ben was targeting him like crazy. And what do they say? What is the phrase these days? Targets are earned. You know, so he was actually earning those targets. You know, he's not the biggest he's not the biggest wide receiver they had. I don't know if he's a fast. I think Chase Claypool was faster than him. Yet every game he was the one that was leading the team in targets. You know, I did hear. You know, I try not to put too much value on this, but I did hear he has been working out with Mitch Trubisky, who, by the way, I believe is going to win the job and keep the job for a fair amount of time this season. So it lets you know he's already kind of trying to sow those seeds like, hey, I'm your guy, get me the ball. Now, the one concern we just can't ignore is, you know, he is in a situation where he's trying to get paid, and it sounds like the Steelers don't want to pay him market value. So we'll see how that goes. I do expect him back with the team. I don't think it's going to be I mean, they're either going to pay him or they're not, but regardless, I think he's still going to end up with the team this year.
You think the contract year phenomenon is something that's real here, where he's going to maybe play harder, show out,
I don't
try
know.
to earn that contract?
I don't know, because you can look at it the other way. He can say, you know, let me not go crazy because I want to make sure I'm healthy enough. Because that's why he wants to get the money. You know, that's why he wants to get that guaranteed contract for, in case there's an injury, he's still going to get paid. While vice versa, if he gets injured right now, most likely nobody's going to pay him.
Yeah,
you know,
that's always an interesting dynamic. Yeah, people always talk about that contract year.
Yeah. Kind of like Michael Gallup situation. Who, the Cowboys still paid him, but I think that was more of loyalty. I don't think another team would have paid him that much money.
No, definitely not.
Even Juju, you know, he was injured last year. He didn't get the type of contract I'm sure he wanted. He ended up just selling for a 1-year deal.
Steelers notoriously do not pay their wide receivers.
Right. And I don't think they're going to pay him, so he's either going to have to deal with it or he's going to ship out.
After the AB debacle, they probably like, no, one time we break our rules.
And people forget, before AB, there was an issue with the Steelers with Mike Wallace. I don't think people remember that.
Plexico Burris, Santonio Holmes.
Yes.
I mean, you can go.
They say, look, if you start making a big deal about your money, we'll just ship you out.
Hines
we'll
Ward
go to the next guy.
Yeah, Hines Ward, I guess, you know, he played it cool, so he
I want to even say Emmanuel Sanders had an issue with the money, which is why he left with the Broncos.
He did.
Anyway, so Deontay I have no problem with. I feel like he's just so talented that, you know, they're going to have to throw the ball to somebody, especially if we don't expect them to be a very good team this year.
So you're okay with them. And, like, back into the 4th, I think is probably, like, where I want to, like, grab them.
I mean, of course, I'd love to grab them as late as possible, but I have no problem taking them.
Okay, so then I'm going to ask you, try to figure out where you at on them. Deontay or T-Mac?
Deontay.
I'm going to just stop right there.
Ooh, that's a close one.
That's
a close one.
Okay, wait.
It is a close one. I'll probably take T-Mac the next pick.
Okay, I got another one. Brandon Cooks or Deontay?
Deontay.
Okay, that's a good one. Okay. DJ Moore or Deontay?
DJ.
Yeah.
But I've been DJ for a while, though.
Yeah.
Pittman or Deontay?
Deontay.
Ooh.
I'm not as high on Pittman as
that's a little more controversial.
Okay. I mean, what has Pittman done?
No, I know.
The value of Pittman right now is the potential.
Right.
He's theoretically the alpha guy there.
Yeah.
You know, if they got to upgrade on the quarterback, people probably see him being Matt Ryan's Julio. You know,
yeah. Matt Ryan always got a guy. That's the thing.
He probably has a guy, but we just haven't seen Pittman do it.
Yeah.
You know, while we've seen Deontay do it not once but twice.
Yeah.
He's been doing it since he was a rookie.
Yeah.
You know, so his talent is there. Now, the only question mark for him is, does he have the quarterback that can get the ball in his hands? You know, and we'll see what happens. But I feel like if we knew he did, he'd be going comfortably in the 3rd.
I feel like for Deontay to, and I don't want to use the term breakout, but to exceed his ADP. Because I think, again, when you're drafting guys in the 4th round, there's such a large tier. You're really trying to cherry pick the guy that can, like, exceed that ADP.
Right.
You know? And if it doesn't, again, that's not going to kill your team, but that's, you know, ideally you're trying to, like, win at that in that round. The way he wins to me is by becoming more efficient, you know? So can Trubisky be a more efficient passer than Big Ben? You know, and that's, I think, a huge unknown because we haven't seen Trubisky in a minute. And, you know, we heard the rumblings when he was with the Bills as a backup and how he's improved. And I think that's ultimately why he got the current job that he has currently. But, you know, that's a big unknown. And then, you know, you got the rookie, you know, I would anticipate at some point he sees the field this year. You know, he may not. It depends on how
I'm pretty sure he's
going to
see the field.
Yeah,
but just to finish my thought, so that's how I feel about Deontay. For Claypool, because he's being taken so late, I don't mind taking them on the same team. I know some people might look at that as cannibalizing your players, but I kind of look at it a little differently. Again, I like to approach fantasy and just life in general as far as I may have strong opinions on a thing, but I also understand that there's a chance that I'm going to be wrong or I'm going to be off. So with the chance of me being wrong that Deontay is the guy, if he's not the guy, having Claypool right there on my bench is just almost an easy swap.
Yeah.
You know, like,
it's like a handcuff.
Almost a wide receiver handcuff.
Yeah.
Because somebody out of the two, I feel like one of them is going to be the guy.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, I mean,
well, you know, some people may argue though, if you're entering into a large tournament, that you don't want to play it safe that way.
Right. But again, we're talking
minimizing
about But we're talking about a player that's going so late. Who would I take instead of him?
I mean, you stay late. It's like the 9th, 10th round.
Right.
You take another player where now you got Deontay because you believe in him. You took him where you believed him, and you take another player that you believe in.
Right.
It's almost like you're hedging.
But the other players that you're going to take around the 10th round, they're no guaranteed to give you value anyways.
Neither is Claypool.
No, I'm not saying Claypool is a guarantee. Remember, the Claypool thing is if Deontay doesn't work out, Claypool will be there.
You want to hedge in a tournament.
It is a hedge.
So you're okay hedging in a tournament.
But again, who are you going to take instead of that hedge? You're literally any other player you're taking.
You could take MVS. You could take Sky Moore. You could take
MVS's value is going to start to increase when people realize he's the number one wide receiver for the Chiefs. I think people are just kind of.
I do not think he's the number one.
I think people are still kind of looking at the ambiguity there.
Yeah.
So
I don't think.
But other
all
players.
those reports came out, and basically nobody was healthy in camp.
Okay, we're not talking about the Chiefs right now. But anyway, other players that you're taking around where Claypool is taking. They literally have the same type of potential value as what I see in Claypool. And again,
but Claypool is the only one that can hurt the value of Deontay on that same team.
I don't think he hurts it. I don't think he hurts it at all because look like this. You draft Deontay in the 4th.
Yeah.
You don't draft Claypool. Somebody else drafts Claypool.
Okay.
If Claypool still goes off, he's still, in what you're saying, hurting Deontay's value, right?
Yeah.
He's just on somebody else's team.
So instead that means you shouldn't have drafted Deontay then.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Right now,
the value is Deontay's in the 4th, and that's it.
So you live and die with Deontay, then is what you're saying?
Like, no, I'm saying if you're entering like a home league, probably best you could definitely play it safe in that scenario. I feel like in a tournament, I'm not saying you can't win like that, and I'm not necessarily even saying it's a bad, but I can 100% see, and I think I lean with the side that if I'm taking Deontay and then drafting Claypool with the idea that I'm kind of hedging.
But okay, maybe I said that wrong. Maybe I didn't fully explain it. I'm not targeting Claypool.
Yeah.
I'm taking Claypool at value if he's there for me. If I see other players that I don't feel like has the same type of value as Claypool, I'm not going to skip Claypool just because they have Deontay.
I 100% agree.
And go with somebody else.
I've done that with Diggs and
right.
Thielen, you know?
If he's there and I feel like all the other options aren't as good, I'm going to take Claypool.
Yeah, if I start off.
Now, as far as, are there any teammates I'm targeting? No. Like maybe the Vikings, if I was targeting.
Yeah.
Maybe, definitely not the Dolphins. I think they're both going too high.
Yeah.
You literally are going to have to take those players in like back-to-back rounds.
Yeah.
But, Jefferson in the 1st and Thielen in
what about Kupp and Robinson?
7th. I would take both of them.
Yeah. See,
I might even target them. Yeah. I might target them.
My issue with that is that, like, again, and it all depends on the tournament, but in these large field tournaments, whether it's best ball or redraft, actually, I should specifically say redraft, where you're looking at 3 weeks. Is it the NFFC, FFPC, FWC? Like, when you're looking at 3 weeks of, tallied points, if Claypool goes off 1 week, the likelihood that Deontay is also going off that week is diminished.
Right, I agree.
And so now I get, 3 weeks of tallied points, and they're kind of, and you're starting both of them.
But that's the point. That's the point I'm trying to say. You're not drafting Claypool as your starter.
Yeah.
Now,
but Kupp and Robinson,
you probably would. And that's just a preference thing right there.
You start Kupp and Robinson.
First of all, let's first acknowledge the fact that Kupp had such a historic season last year, and he's being ranked as the number 1 wide receiver. Yeah. So he's kind of in an atmosphere of his own. Yeah. And just taking A-Rob is just more of the value. Like, I'm not going to take A-Rob in the 4th, but he's going at that turn, so I might end up taking him in the 5th. You know, and then it's an easy stack. And not to mention they play the first game of the season, so you're going to have that Thursday first look.
Best ball or redraft? would you would take them both in best ball, or you would take them both in redraft?
I would probably take them both, actually.
In both, okay.
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah. For me, I don't, and again, I've done it with Diggs, you get him in the first round, obviously, and then seeing Thielen in the 7th, I can't pass up a Thielen in the 7th.
Right.
And could it work out? Yeah. And I actually feel comfortable starting both of them. There aren't few instances where I feel that comfortable. I think if I go back and look at the game logs and try to figure out how many times Kupp and Odell and Kupp and Woods kind of, went off at the same time, or did very well.
What
at
do
the
you
same
mean,
time.
Jefferson and
Kupp?
No, Kupp and Woods before Woods got hurt, or Kupp and Odell.
No, I mean,
let me ask you this.
Diggs and Thielen.
Let me ask you
Diggs
this.
and Thielen, yeah.
Let me ask you this. Last year,
Think
back to last year draft season.
Yeah.
Would you have passed up on Amari if you had CD? Because they were going literally.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want. Because I just don't want to have a player capping another player's upside, especially when it's that close.
So
if it's further apart in ADP, I think I'd be okay with it.
So when you were drafting CD, you were basically making a bet, an internal bet, saying if I'm taking CD, Amari's not going to have a good season
on this team.
Okay.
And the way that you kind of brought in the idea that I may not be right, I know I may not be right. So that means on other teams I'm gonna take Amari.
Right. I'm just saying because last year I remember both of them were being taken.
And I think they're
tied together.
There are teams where that could work out. I feel like that could work out with the Ravens. With Andrews and Bateman. I feel like it could work out with Kansas City if you get Kelsey and whoever wide receiver you want to get, because that wide receiver. Do you look
at those type of tight ends almost like you look at a wide receiver?
Oh yeah, they're wide receivers to me.
So if you're going to tell me you look at them the same way, then you're basically saying you're doing what you're saying you don't do.
But those are different. I'm saying there are very few situations where I feel like the offense can support two.
Okay. So it depends on the offense.
Starter, yeah, depends on the offense.
So if that's the case,
because the target tree has to be very narrow in most cases, and then the offense needs to be good enough to support.
So if that's the case, I guess what then I'm saying is to go out to piggyback on what you're saying is I think the Rams offense is that good, or could potentially be that good.
And we've talked about this. I have serious concerns about the Rams offense.
Yeah.
And Matthew Stafford's elbow is at the bottom of the list.
Now, you want to talk about Stafford's elbow real quick before I finish up the Steelers? Okay, so yeah, I don't mind. Now, to go on the other guys they have on the team, George Pickens, like you were saying, you don't know if they're going to give him clock. I think they will. Yeah. I think they tend to give all their rookie wide receivers. Think back to
I like him a lot.
Who was that tall receiver they had, skinny? Just a few years ago, he got in trouble with the law.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. God damn.
He just couldn't. He just couldn't get right. Yeah. But he would play as a rookie.
He could get right.
Deontay played as a rookie.
Yeah.
AB played as a rookie. Yeah. They play their wide receivers as rookies.
And real talk, I mean, they could just be like, you know what, we know we're not signing Deontay. We know he wants a movie.
Yeah.
Or we know he wants a new deal. So we'll personally phase him out. Because Deontay could be as good as Deontay wants to be. Yeah. If he's not the first read in that offense, especially with the quarterback like Trubisky or a rookie quarterback, they go into their first read, second read, dump off.
Yeah.
If they make Deontay the third read because they want to get Pickens more looks, or they want to feature Claypool more. Yeah. We're all it's one thing and this is where we always had this debate about talent versus situation. This is where the coaching staff and the team can really dictate situation. Because if you look back at last year, why weren't we on Cup? Because we didn't know what that situation was. We didn't know what the head coach and what the OC had planned going into this year as having Cup be the featured in that offense. Yeah. We didn't know, at least some of us didn't know, that Debo was going to be featured the way he was. Everybody, had all these ideas, but we didn't know what the situation was. And so in some of these instances, even though it may seem as clear as day, we may not necessarily know the situation, which is why I am trying to get some Claypool shares as well.
Got you. So, and just I'm remiss if I don't mention Calvin Austin as well. Yeah. Small guy, I think I mentioned before in the pod, but they drafted him in the 4th. You don't draft a player in the 4th with no intention of utilizing him.
Yeah.
Small as hell, but they must have some kind of plan for him.
And Pat Freiermuth says he wants to catch, 1,000 yards or something.
I think he might get squeezed a little bit.
He might be, but they have receiving options. And I really, again, going back to George Pickens, that was probably my favorite wide receiver in this draft. So, and Deontay's not someone who, who's known to stay healthy. So he's someone who's always on my radar as far as that late bench stash. Because that 1 week that Deontay gets hurt, is a week where I may feel fairly comfortable putting him in my starting lineup, depending on how he shows out the first couple weeks.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's stay on receivers for a second because I want to talk about the Bears. They add N'Keal Harry this week. Now they got Darnell Mooney, N'Keal Harry. Is that evidence that Chicago feels better about Justin Fields coming into this training camp? Do you guys feel better about drafting Justin Fields, or are you still fading Justin Fields?
No. I'm not fading Justin Fields, but I feel like that had little to do with Justin Fields than anything else. It is a big body receiver, okay, and they kind of lack that. I personally feel like they brought him in, and I kind of mentioned that like as soon as the trade happened, they brought him in because he's a good blocker. Like if you recall back to that New England game where they played the Bills and they just kept running the ball and they were running literally the exact same play. And N'Keal Harry was a big part of like, cleaning up on that end. Like I feel like that's main. And you look at, I think Pro Football Focus, someone put out a tweet, about like, the top rated wide receivers. And N'Keal Harry was near the top of that list. Who was number one? Robert Woods. You know what team he went to? The Titans. So that's just something to consider. They may not have just drafted him just to like catch passes. Yeah. Maybe they wanted him to block too a little bit. But I feel like the N'Keal Harry situation had very little to do with it. Now, I do like who they brought in as the OC. Okay, Getsy. And kind of going back and looking what he did, in college and looking at his influence or how he was influenced in the NFL. Expecting more RPOs, expecting more play action. I feel like that caters more to Justin Fields' game. I think we all are aware or have heard that playbook last year for the Bears was one that was made much more for Dalton and not Justin Fields. Okay, and so I think now you set your quarterback up by trying to establish a better run game. I think they brought in, I can't remember the guy's name, but they bring in a new running game coach to help out with the new run scheme. You have the OC like we talked about, incorporating RPOs, incorporating play action pass. I think these are all things that help out Justin Fields as opposed to just kind of having him be this standard drop back quarterback.
So first of all, y'all know me. I'm not a believer in the Bears' offense this year. I'm not even a believer in Justin Fields. Yeah, he can run, but he didn't even look like he really wanted to run last year. He almost looked like he wanted to prove to everybody he can be a pocket passer, which is fine, But part of his fantasy allure is the way his mobility, And we just didn't really see much of that. Now, a lot of that wasn't even game plan. Like the coaches didn't really put him in position where he was. Like they didn't have RPOs where he was actually schemed to run.
But you're the college guy, right? He wasn't really a runner in college per se, right?
He wasn't really much of a runner, but he could run.
And he had a beautiful deep ball, which
right?
is a lot of things they did not incorporate last year.
Right. But just the fact that he could run and he's a rookie, you know, usually rookies that have the capability of running, they start off by running more so because they're trying to just make plays, because they're trying to learn it as they go through the progressions. But as far as N'Keal Harry specifically, I'm not too confident he's even going to make the team. They traded a 2024 7th, which is like the lowest. Other than it might even be conditional. If it was conditional, it would be even lower. But it's literally like they just gave him just nothing for the Pats to just give it to him. And remember, the reports prior to the trade the day before was the Pats were going to release him. And I think we even heard even a year ago or maybe even a trade deadline, the Pats had him on the block. So the guy had been available. It's not like he's just all of a sudden teams were like, oh, we didn't know we could get Harry. Let's call the Pats. No, the Pats had literally been trying to get rid of this guy, had no takers, said we're going to finally release him. And the Bears like, here, take this 24/7 and just give it to him. Give it to him.
You know what it does say, though? That the Bears are actively looking for wide receiver help.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to say that because
who's actively trading for N'Keal Harry?
But to me, that tells me that what they gave up is
we don't like necessarily what's going on here. We're not that confident.
But what they gave up is so minimal to me.
Yeah, like I think they may bring in more.
I think more so it was them just bringing just somebody, just take a look. It was a take a look trade. Like, let's see what he's like. If he's good, cool. If he's not good, we didn't give up much anyways.
But why even give up anything?
Because
why even give up anything?
Because if they release him, he was going to go through waivers.
Yeah, I don't
he had to go through waivers. Another team can claim him. By giving up that 24/7, you actually have his rights immediately.
Yeah. Or maybe if you're saying that he is a wideout who is a run block specialist, maybe this is their commitment to the run. And that
I don't think that. I mean, I heard y'all say that. And y'all could think that. I think they literally just want to take a look, and if he doesn't show enough, they'll cut him. I really, and if I was to put my money on it right now, I think he's not going to be on the roster day
just
one.
draft Darnell Mooney.
No.
Actually, don't draft.
Like you're not mentioning the other guys they have. They do have other guys.
I don't even care about the other guys.
They got the rookie who
I do care about the rookie.
This guy. Anyway, they got the rookie from Tennessee, a burner, blazing speed. You know,
but he's not just a burner. People keep talking about him as he's just this deep threat guy. Man, think of this guy.
I didn't say deep threat.
I know. I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about you. But every time I hear people mention Velus Jones, they talk about him as he's just a deep threat guy or a 9 guy. No, this is a guy that like potentially you could line up in the background. He was like a return specialist. I think he played running back at one point. Remember, he was a transfer to Tennessee. So I think that part played a role into why he was a late breakout. But he's kind of like a bigger body guy too as well. Like he's an athlete. I'm not saying he's Debo, but he's an athlete. Okay, so like you can use him in a lot of different ways.
So they got Velus. Yeah. They have Byron Pringle, who I actually think might be the starter at the moment. They brought him in from the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I think Pringle's maybe 28 years old now, so he's not too young. But they gave him a fairly okay contract. Byron Pringle's going to be on their team. Now, I think he got in trouble with the law recently.
Yes, he did.
So we'll see what comes from that. But they have guys there.
And maybe that went into the trade too. Like maybe because sometimes how the NFL will let the teams know, tip the teams off. This guy's getting suspended for X amount of games.
The thing about the trade though is Harry has done nothing in the league.
Yeah,
he's just a name from college draft time.
Yeah,
if you take away his draft profile,
he was ranked number 3 as he's the number 3 blocking wide receiver in 2021. You can't say he's done nothing.
Man, come on. They need to convert him to tight end. He can back up. He can back up commit. But if you just literally ignore the draft profile, he literally has done nothing in the league for you to be excited about him joining your team. Now, who's to say he might be? I kind of look at it like he's like a Laquan Treadwell. Remember Laquan Treadwell?
He's worse than Laquan Treadwell.
Laquan Treadwell was drafted in the first round with the Vikings.
Yeah,
and he did nothing. Yeah. He went to another team, did nothing. They cut him, and then he ended with the Jags last year. He did a little something, but
a little bit.
Now he's at the bottom.
He had them ghost weeks where you're like, oh wait, okay, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Okay, I'm gonna put you in my starting lineup now. Oh,
yeah, exactly. So
now you want to go ghost.
Now, if they do decide to run the ball more with him, I mean, cool. I mean, that's great or whatever. Yeah. But I mean, I'm not excited. I don't think it helps Justin Fields much at all. The guy can't separate. Yeah. He's not super fast.
See, I think it does. I think if you can establish a run, okay, and teams have to honor the run, that then opens up play action pass.
But then if you can do play action, you got to take him off the field and bring in a receiver that can catch the ball.
That's true.
Here, block for these 2 runs real quick. All right, get back out here.
Brian Pringle,
get in there, Pringle.
Nick, you're here like, I can stay here, coach.
No.
Come on now.
We've seen enough. Come sit there. Yeah.
Can't get right. Come on.
Let's talk about the Jets, guys. Let's talk about the Jets. So last year, the Jets draft Elijah Moore. They still have Corey Davis. And then they draft Garrett Wilson.
Braxton Berrios. Don't forget about Braxton.
They still got Braxton Berrios. Zach Wilson is coming back for a sophomore season in the league. Let's talk about the Jets for a second. How do you guys feel about the Jets? Do you think Zach Wilson takes that leap? How do you guys feel about that receiver room?
Man, I have no clue. Like literally zero. Yes, Elijah Moore is great. I think the way people talk about him, they talk about him like he Antonio Brown. I really do. They really talk about him like and he's good. But I went back and watched all of this kind of 2021, and I was impressed, but I wasn't overly impressed. I wasn't like, oh my God, this is like the second coming.
Yeah.
I think the way that they use him, his skill set was very smart. He was they schemed him open. He was very savvy in terms of finding, open spaces and zones. He moved very well with his quarterback on broken plays, and he can catch the ball, and he's good after the catch. So he's a great player. I just don't know how they're going to use and deploy these players. Mm-hmm. I understand that they spent a first-round pick on Garrett Wilson. Like, I get it. And we talked about Garrett Wilson. Like, we wanted him to come to Houston.
He
was like 1 or 2. Yeah, he was like 1 and 2. Like, they were going back and forth. But I can't ignore the fact that, like, Corey Davis and Zach Wilson, like, really hit it off. I can't ignore the fact that they still owe Corey Davis a significant amount of money. I can't ignore the fact that Corey Davis is a good blocker. I can't ignore the fact that Corey Davis built or had rapport with Zach Wilson last year, you know?
He's also the vet.
And he's the vet. You know, Elijah Moore wasn't really balling out when he was playing with Zach Wilson, if I can recall. I want to say that was with Johnson, my boy Johnson.
Or Mike White.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
I don't remember one of them.
Flacco, maybe? Flacco was on that team too, right? I mean, like, basically
I
everybody
also forgot somebody else as well.
Denzel Mims?
No, but your boy Tyler Conklin is also there, too.
Tyler Conklin. And we've heard hear a lot of things about him as a reception.
Yeah. So, like, Uzomah and Tyler Conklin.
Yeah, so, I don't know. So, like, you know, I see Elijah Moore at times go into 6, and I can't say that that's wrong because I don't know how they're going to use him. Mm-hmm. It could work out.
But you know he has the talent. You just don't know if he has the role.
Yeah, like, why do you, like, so do I really want to draft him in the 6th round knowing that they spent a first-round pick on Garrett Wilson and then knowing that they have a vet in Corey Davis? And now you know, like, basically, you go watch the film from last or the tape from last year. Yeah. I'm not a Corey Davis fan, but I can't ignore, like, you know, how Zach Wilson looked his way.
And don't ignore, I mean, I'm going to keep saying it, Braxton Berrios. He had a good end of the season last year. So, I think they re-upped him. Yeah. and I saw a picture today where Berrios was like bear hugging Zach Wilson in practice. You know, they're practicing in Idaho or something like that. Yeah. So they're building that rapport. You know.
So, you know my answer, and I'll let Dale kind of take it. My answer is draft the cheapest guy, which is either Wilson or Corey Davis. And I do have a couple of Corey Davis shares because it's an easy 20th round pick. Yeah. And like I watched that first game, is he on the field for the majority of the snaps? You know, in 12, 21 personnel. 3 wide receiver sets. Okay, great. I'm keeping him. No, Garrett Wilson's coming in. I drop him. Mm-hmm. Like it's that simple. But the real answer is like I'm probably for the most part fading Elijah Moore just given where he's going. And if I'm betting on the passing offense being better or there being a legit passing threat and this passing game improving, I'm really going to Breece Hall. Like I'm really going to Breece Hall because that tells me that if they can pass. They've been able to establish a run. And I think this is a team that I think they lost their identity last year because of how bad their offense was, or how bad the offensive line was, how bad the offense was, how bad the defense was, and they were just kind of forced into what they did last year. I think this team, has spent and invested some money in the offensive line. They really want to establish a run. They spent this draft capital on Breece Hall. And so if the pass game is taken off and may be like hard to figure out week to week, if that succeeds, then to me, that means the run game is going to succeed because it's likely the run game is going to be more effective, but then also Breece Hall is going to be more scoring opportunities. And it's going to be easier for them to like kind of dump it off because people have to, pay more attention to these wide receivers. So I don't have a lot of Breece Hall right now, but that's a player that like I've like kind of come around to because I'm just sort of kind of seeing all this play out and understanding how little Michael Carter Williams played last year on third down. So, but I'll let you take the rest of that.
I mean, for me, I kind of mimic similar things that you were saying. I'm a big Garrett Wilson guy. I think Garrett Wilson's actually the most talented wide receiver on the team right now.
Agreed.
He's a rookie, so he's going to have his growing pains. But once he kind of gets into the swing of things, he's going to take the job of being the main target, in my opinion. I mean, you just named the names. They got Corey Davis. They have Elijah Moore. They have Braxton Berrios. And they still were like, you know what?
And Denzel Mills. And Tyler Conklin.
they were still like,
But here's the thing, though. In the draft that we just did, Garrett Wilson went in the 9th round. Like, how do you feel about him going in the 9th round?
Well, he's going late because I don't think people really understand what's going on there right now.
Yeah. You think that's late for Garrett Wilson?
That's an upside pick.
I don't know if it's late. It's an upside pick because you don't know. He hasn't done anything.
He's
yet.
A first-round wide receiver. First-round wide receiver. Like, you can't discount that. So and again, this kind of goes back to, like, he has the talent, and if you hit on the situation, meaning that, okay, we went after him in the first round, we want him to be our true X receiver or just a focal point in our offense, the first read in our offense. And these are things that we are not privy to. These are things that we do not know.
And let's not forget, they were also the other team that was trying to get Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Like they wanted another wide receiver there. Like they didn't have any intention this summer of saying we want Elijah Moore to be our main guy.
Yeah.
Because they were gonna give up everything to get Hill. And then on top of that, leading up to the draft, there was rumors they were gonna give up everything to get Debo.
Yeah. What was Elijah Moore's draft?
He was a second round pick,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So second round pick.
He was taken fairly high, but still taking that high, and you still trying to bring an alpha guy in.
I'm thinking, and you keep bringing up that point of like they wanted to get Debo, and I keep going back to this, overall arching theme of 2022. NFL is constantly changing, constantly evolving. How can we try to figure out what is going to happen in the new NFL? It's to some degree a copycat league. What worked last year? That Debo role worked very well last year. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine that some offenses aren't going to try to copy it. So the easiest thing is to like start off with, the disciples of Shanahan. You look in Miami, you look with the Jets, okay? You look with the the Bears, which is why I kind of have
You're just talking about these teams are looking for a player to fit that role.
Yeah.
But remember with Debo, and this is rumors. We don't know exactly what actually played out, but the rumor was Debo didn't want to play as much of that running back role.
Right. Guess what? You're a rookie trying to earn a contract. You're gonna play whatever role they tell you to play.
Debo?
No, I'm talking about the other guys.
Right. I'm just saying if they were to bring Debo, the Jets that they have brought Debo in, I don't know if he would have still played that running back role as much.
Do you think that a team like the Jets are gonna like have a receiver in the backfield when they have Brees, when they have Michael Carter?
Well, this is all before they drafted Brees.
Right.
Remember?
But even then, like what that offers you is from a formation standpoint, you have a defense in a certain type of look and you want to attack that, like, say you like, you got two wide receiver sets and then you like line up your wide receiver in the backfield like that, that's
you can motion them out.
You can do a lot of different things with that, and now you got them going against big linebackers who can't like catch the edge, and he's just like running right by him. So there's a lot that I think you can do with that. And teams of defenses may figure it out, but like again, who knows?
So just to land the plane with Elijah Moore a little bit. I think the reason his ADP is so high, I do believe there's Elijah Moore truthers.
Yeah.
Like, they just love Elijah Moore. They don't really care about the situation as much because they just believe in the talent, which is there. I remember draft night when he got drafted, him having a phone call with A.J. Brown, and A.J. Brown saying he was actually the best wide receiver.
He was crying.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
A.J. Brown's a weird cat.
It's something but still, the guy's not a big, he's not a big guy.
He is.
He doesn't have the prototypical alpha wide receiver size, and I'm just not ready to just say the Jets offense is going to be this juggernaut or even that great yet. Like I'm not there yet. They have these pieces. Yeah. They have, they're building something.
And they got to play the Dolphins twice. They got to play the Bills twice. Yeah. They got to play the Patriots twice.
I mean, it's exciting, but they haven't done it yet.
Yeah. I want to say they have the hardest, or one of the toughest schedule when you look at a wide receiver. Yeah. And granted, it depends on cornerback and a lot of other things, but still, just at face value, it's not the easiest, matchup that they got to face.
Right. And I know a lot of people look at fantasy like they're trying to get ahead of the curve, find the breakthroughs before they happen, and that's all fine and dandy. But sometimes people tell themselves this narrative where they just tell it to themselves so long that they just believe it and it's fact.
Yeah.
And again, Zach Wilson had growing pains last year.
Shout out to Zach Wilson though, for real.
Yeah, real talk. You know what we're talking about. But if Zach Wilson if Zach Wilson doesn't take that step forward, then it don't matter who the wide receivers are. They're all gonna have issues. So I think Elijah Moore is going way too high, but I know his ADP is not going to drop because you're always going to have that truther.
Yeah.
Gary Wilson, I like. Again, he was my number one ranked rookie wide receiver. Once he figures out the speed of the game, I mean, he could play inside, outside.
He's so damn smooth. He's so damn smooth, man.
And he goes up. He knows how to attack the ball in the air. Like, he's going to be the guy eventually, in my opinion. And, I'm probably biased with this. So, but again, I just want to once again reiterate, he's a best ball guy, but Braxton Berrios.
Yeah.
The end of the season last year, I was actually starting him in some of my lineups, and he was coming through.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, the small little white guy, but I just said,
slot roll,
Jesus take the wheel, and by the end of the game, I got 2 touchdowns or so. So
they paid him, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they gave him a big bag, but
they paid him.
Yeah, they paid him.
Yeah.
So I want to flip this question a little bit. I want to talk about the Jags receiving room right now. So they got Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones, Zay Jones, Laviska,
Chenault.
Hold up.
Yeah. I don't know what this is. I have no idea.
That's my victory lap on Biscuit Chenault. That's my victory lap. Yes, go check the tape. But the victory lap on Biscuit Chenault.
But wait. Before you take a victory lap, the whole Jaguars offense was crap last year.
Did he do anything last year? Was he the number 1 wide receiver on the team? Was he the number 2?
All right.
Was he the number 3? Bro wasn't even the number 4 wide receiver.
I don't know, but the whole Jaguars offense was
how
trash.
many receptions and not 1 touchdown? Come on now.
The whole Jaguars offense was trash, though.
And Laquan Treadwell.
You forgot to mention some names, though.
Laquan Treadwell. Can't get right came in and outproduced them.
You forgot, again, the offense was trash. I mean, you literally could throw out Hall last year. Don't forget Jamal Agnew.
Jamal Agnew?
He looked nice last year.
Is he still on? Oh, yeah.
He was the best wide receiver for some games last year. He got hurt, hurt for the season.
They also brought in Evan Ingram from the Giants as well.
And they also have Dan Arnold.
They got Dan Arnold. But my question here with that receiving group is, who's the odd man out, right? Like, who probably won't be on this roster?
How many wide receivers did you just name?
I just named 5.
They all make it.
So they all make it?
This is the thing first. Before you even get to the wide receivers, first start off with the head coach. Mm-hmm. Who was the head coach? Doug Peterson. Mm-hmm. Okay? It's likely that his offense is going to look something like it did in Philadelphia. He could change some things, but, maybe it was personnel-based, but he used his tight ends a lot. Okay? So I'm kind of starting off there.
Why do you think that, though? Wait. Why do you think that he's going to duplicate what wasn't successful?
It was successful. He won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, but
he won a Super Bowl with Carson Wentz and
Nick Foles.
Foles.
Yeah.
What do you mean? He won a Super Bowl with Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. I would say that was successful. And they had winning seasons.
Right.
But
the next year it wasn't successful. They fired him.
Right.
Or maybe 2 years later.
Okay, but
2 years later they fired him.
These head coaches, how many times do they come in and just actually innovate and do something different? It's not very often. Usually they have a scheme and they run with that scheme. The only reason I'm bringing this up, is for 2 reasons, okay? This is not my idea. I got to give the credit to Stephen Malk. He brought up the idea that, could we be looking at a Dalton Schultz, Blake Jarwin type situation when it comes to Evan Ingram and Dan Arnold? If for the very fact, because if you go back and look at Dan Arnold's before he got hurt last year, you look at his game log, it's pretty significant. And we've seen Evan Ingram, even in the best situations, fail and fall on his face.
Right.
And we know that Dan Arnold is not a blocking tight end. I think he was like a converted wide receiver. So if it is somewhat like the previous, regime where they use 2 tight ends and one is particularly a receiving tight end and the other is a more blocking tight end, still gets his receiving, you could be looking at a situation where maybe it's not Evan Ingram, maybe it's Dalton Schultz. Or sorry, maybe it's Dan Arnold. But the importance of that when it comes to talking about the wide receivers is that if the tight ends are going to be a significant take up significant targets in this offense, that means that we can't be looking at 2 or 3 viable wide receivers. Maybe it's really only one viable receiver that you feel comfortable starting, and then it's trying to figure out who that is.
So, first of all, I don't think any of the wide receivers are viable.
Nor do I. Yeah.
But when you said they could possibly be like a Dalton Schultz and Blake Jarwin scenario, Dalton Schultz only became a thing once Blake Jarwin got hurt. They weren't playing together.
He was healthy. When he came back to start the season, they were both healthy.
But remember, 2 years ago, Blake Jarwin had just got a contract extension. He was the main guy. He got hurt like game 2. And then Schultz became a thing the rest of the season. And the next year, he was coming off of that ACL.
And
he got hurt again.
One was casted away.
And he got hurt again.
Okay,
that's what I'm saying. So it was really the Cowboys weren't utilizing 2 tight ends. It was just that Schultz was the healthier and the more productive.
No, they were. They were utilizing 2 tight ends, and Schultz was the receiving tight end more so whenever they were both healthy and playing.
But that's what I'm saying. Jarwin was never really healthy. When
he was healthy at one point in the season, he was at At one point in the season, he was healthy.
But he was coming off of the ACL. That's what I'm saying. He was still kind of coming off that major injury.
But people were drafting.
And then he got hurt again because people were expecting him to get that rollback.
Yeah, the idea is that there's 2 tight ends there, and we're kind of all focused on
now,
one tight end.
So let's talk.
So
talking about the Jaguars tight ends.
Yeah.
I don't think Dan Arnold is going to be much of anything. I mean, keep in mind,
may not be.
He was traded for by the previous regime. Mm-hmm. You know, he wasn't traded for by Doug Peterson and them. Doug Peterson and them, on the contrary, actually went out and sought out Evan Ingram and gave him a pretty good.
But they used 2 tight ends. In previous years, they've used 2 tight ends.
But even if they used 2 tight ends, specifically talking about Dan Arnold, they didn't bring in Dan Arnold. They were basically adopted, or whatever the word is. They gained Dan Arnold from the previous regime. Yeah, but they have no true connection.
But I could argue they didn't bring in Etienne. I could argue they didn't bring in Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
I can argue they didn't bring in all their wide receivers.
But the difference is they did bring in Evan Ingram
because they needed another tight end. So they were going to bring in somebody.
They have other tight ends on the roster.
But think about it this way.
Tight end.
But also think about it this way. Arizona had Dan Arnold and then traded Dan Arnold away and then went after.
They didn't sign him.
Well, I mean, they're still letting him go.
Because he can't block.
Right, but then they went.
Here's what really happened.
That.
Here's what happened. Yeah. The Panthers sought out Dan Arnold, who was still a free agent. Mm-hmm. They got him on the team. Remember that thing they put on Twitter with the whole thing about them calling his agent? They got him on the team. That's when we thought he was going to be the guy. They still had the other tight ends, Ian Thomas, and then they drafted the tight end. Tremmel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tremmel had that one game Thursday night against the Texans. Mm-hmm. Then literally the next week, they traded Dan Arnold away to the Jags.
They didn't trade him away because of that. They traded him away because of what they got.
I didn't say it's because. I'm just saying.
They traded him away because of what they got.
I'm just
saying.
They
were trading for a cornerback.
Right. I didn't say.
He was part of the trade deal.
I'm not saying why they traded him. Yeah. All I'm saying is they traded him away like week 5, and they traded him to the Jaguars who needed a tight end. But again, I think them going after Evan Ingram, and Evan Ingram still is talented. He's had injury concerns.
His contract is like not even like it's.
I want to say it's $8 million.
So it's basically like it's not necessarily like all I'm saying.
That's pretty good though.
All I'm saying is that like Dan Arnold has produced. Okay.
I don't think Dan Arnold is good. Like I know you think he's good.
I didn't say he's good. I said he's a good receiver. He's a good receiving tight end. He just can't block. He's a better receiving tight end than Evan Ingram.
4 teams in 5 years.
Go look at Evan Ingram's Go look at Evan Ingram's drop rate. I guarantee you, Dan Arnold is a better receiving tight end today than Evan Ingram is.
I don't
People
know how
keep thinking about Evan Ingram as when he came out of college. But ever since he's been in the pros, he has been an absolute disappointment, and it has not been all due to injuries. I'm not saying that Dan Arnold is way above. I'm saying it's close enough for us to like the idea that we're just automatically like giving Evan Ingram, a guy who could not get a second contract.
Again, you can't ignore that. Okay, the Jaguars didn't lose a tight end this offseason. Like they didn't have to replace anybody.
Were terrible.
So what I'm saying is because they didn't have to replace anybody,
that's not
they
true.
They could have went.
That's not true.
Who did they lose?
You can't say because we like to use 2 tight ends, so we're just gonna roll with whatever we got.
But I'm saying, but my comment was they didn't replace. They're not replacing anybody. They didn't lose anybody.
Okay, but if what they have is subpar, like who do they have?
Dan Arnold. He's subpar.
Outside of
right, exactly what you said.
No.
Dan Arnold being subpar.
But if they use 2 tight ends and one is primarily
but we can't even guarantee.
But
we can't guarantee they're going to use 2 tight ends.
Okay, but who else do they have?
They have the backups.
Who are the backups? Who are the backups?
The same backups they had last year.
Name them.
I didn't know who they were last year.
Exactly. So then you can't.
But listen,
if you're wondering why they brought in Evan Ingram, it's because we can't name the backups.
We don't know they're going to be a 2 tight end team. You're saying that because.
But why do people like Evan Ingram? Why do people think, Evan Ingram? We know that he's sucked every year, but why do we think he's going to be good this year?
But I'm stating
because of the offense, right?
But I'm stating it. They went out and brought in Evan Ingram
on an $8 million contract.
That's a pretty good contract.
It's an okay contract.
It's an
okay contract.
They still went out a new regime.
And it's a 1-year deal, I believe.
A new regime still.
It's a 1-year deal. It's not a good contract. What's the guaranteed on that?
I stand with Dio on this one. Listen,
Dan
Arnold's best season.
He's trash. He went with the Saints, the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Jags, and I guarantee you know what?
Whenever his contract is who else was trash before 2021? Who? Dalton Schultz. Go look at his stats before 2021.
Fair
enough. I'm just saying.
But Dalton Schultz wasn't getting clock. He was a backup, and he's young too.
So go look at Dan Arnold when he was healthy with the Jags. Just pull up his game log with the Jags.
His 14.
And then you tell me if that.
His 14.
No, go pull up his game log with the Jags. What I'm saying is that it is close enough.
I think you're trying to convince yourself on Dan Arnold.
I'm not.
That's
look,
fine, but
you really are.
This is an easy thing to do. Compare Evan Ingram's stats to Dan Arnold's stats last year when he was healthy, and then you tell me that there's this big difference as far as like receiving tight end. Go ahead and look at his stats with the. Go ahead and pull them out in the tight end premium and see how they.
I mean,
what is it?
I'm not gonna waste my time.
I mean, he had 324 yards.
No. Pull up the game logs. Pull it because what you're looking at is overall stats. You don't realize that he was hurt for the majority of the season, and he played in Carolina, who does not use the tight ends at all. The Carolina, that regime, that coaching staff does not use the tight ends in the passing game.
Okay.
So you cannot utilize that as like, okay, he didn't do anything with the tight ends. Look at the Jaguars.
Again, that's fine if you believe in Dan Arnold, but it's just
why you gotta phrase it like that?
Because you believe in Dan Arnold.
No, I'm using your whole theory about like there are certain things that we don't know and we can make assumption and it is within.
Don't say you're using my anything.
Yeah, it is.
I have no type of connection to what you're saying about Dan Arnold.
It is well within the realm of possibility that Dan Arnold outproduces Evan Ingram next year. Because Dan Arnold outproduced Evan Ingram when he was with the Giants.
I don't see it at all, and I can repeat what I've been saying, but that's just beating a dead horse. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if Dan Arnold didn't make the team.
Because they brought him in for like a 1-year contract for $8 million?
I mean, I'll just be surprised if Dan Arnold didn't make the team. There's nothing significant about Dan Arnold. He might have signed a 2-year contract with the Panthers, which is why he will be on the team. But I think once that contract is up,
Chris awfully quiet over there because he's looking at the game logs and realizing that it's a little bit better than what he thought.
No, it really isn't. It really isn't. Listen, he didn't score a single touchdown. He never had a 100-yard game.
He played for the Jags.
All right,
we talk about.
He's talking about tight end premium. Keep throwing all these excuses.
Tight end premium. Read the game logs. Read the game logs. Read the game logs.
All right.
Anyway, can I finish what I was saying about the Jaguars receivers?
Receptions and total yards.
Listen,
Abby wants to sell everybody on the Evan Ingram.
I'm not selling it. I'm just saying.
I'm not going.
You don't want to read them, right?
I'm not getting in the car.
Y'all can go look it up.
I'll let you drive. I'm not getting in the car. I'll take the next bus. I'm not getting it out.
Y'all can go look it up.
Anyway, as far as the Jaguar receivers, again, I don't believe any of them. You know, I mean, we've gone so long with the tight ends, we forgot we were talking about the receivers. But don't ignore Jamal Agnew because he did produce a lot last year before injury, and I have heard that he's came back healthy and he's looking pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. He's a converted DB. Like he started with the Lions as a DB, but converted to a wide receiver. He's also a return man. I think that's actually what he kind of got his name as far as being a return guy. They brought in Christian Kirk. They gave Christian Kirk such a big contract that we cannot just ignore that Christian Kirk might be the guy to own there. And I wouldn't be surprised. Remember, Christian Kirk was a second-round pick out of Texas A&M. He has the draft capital. He was supposed to be a big thing. He hasn't had that career quite yet, but he's had little flashes. I wouldn't be surprised if Christian Kirk has a pretty good season. So he might be the guy that you actually should be targeting. And I think his ADP is pretty good right now.
It's decent.
I wouldn't waste time with Zay Jones. Chenault, I would keep Chenault in Dynasty. I'm not there yet with redraft. I got to see it because he just this hype. It's like he always has hype, but he doesn't produce. And who's the other wide receivers? Laquan Treadwell, you can get rid of him. He might not make the team. And I don't even know who else you said. But
really, the only one that I would consider would be Christian Kirk. And he is going at a very reasonable price. And it's because, like, you hear us talking about it, like, you know, we really don't know. But you got to start from somewhere, okay? And, again, you got – I wouldn't even say put it in the category of take it with a grain of salt. Like, I think it is significant to look back at Doug Peterson's offense in the past and see, you know, kind of what their, you know, how their wide receivers have produced in their passing game. And traditionally, it's really only been usually one guy, and it's been their tight ends, and it's been their running backs and the running game. That's how, like, that's really what it's been previously. And for me, that's where I'm going to start. You know, as far as spending draft capital. When I
hear people make those type of arguments, I start to wonder if it's almost like a chicken and the egg thing. Mm-hmm. Did the team do that because that was Peterson's system, or did the team do that because that's the type of personnel they had, and Peterson was utilizing the talent on the squad?
Because that was Peterson's system.
I mean, that was his first head coaching job. So we don't know. His system. We don't know that was his system. We do know that the Eagles had two great tight ends on the team.
Yeah, it's another reason why I feel like they will be bringing in a running back at some point.
Who, the Jaguars?
Yeah.
They don't need one. They got Snoop Connor. Anyway, what's the next topic?
All right. I'm just going to throw out some names, cause for concern or not cause for concern, because they do not have a new contract. Let's talk about this for a second. Lamar Jackson, cause for concern. Let's just keep going.
No cause for concern.
None.
No cause for concern for
Not
either
even
one.
a little bit.
No.
I'm
a spoiler alert. I'm gonna say no for all of them though.
Really?
The reason, you can say the names and I'll explain to you why.
I don't even know the names, but I know Lamar. No, 0.
No cause for concern.
No, we can
Well,
next.
Still draft him.
Name them.
All right, Kyler.
No.
0 for me.
0.
Oh, so you changed now?
What, do I think he might get traded?
No, remember you were kind of worried about the contract situation.
I was never worried about. Remember, I always say even if he's traded, he's still going to be Kyler Murray. I'll still draft him. I was never concerned about drafting Kyler.
I thought you were concerned.
I was
about
always
holdout.
saying no. That's why. That's the point I was going to make. I'll let you say the names,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll make my point after you say the names. But with Kyler, I was always saying, he might not get that stay with the Cardinals. Remember, that's what I was saying.
But you still value
But I would
him
still
to
draft him. Matter of fact, if his value dropped, I would target him there because
His value's
he's
dropped
going
right
to
now.
play week 1.
Yeah.
Whether it's with the Cardinals or with whatever
He's
team.
playing with the Cardinals.
Most likely it's the Cardinals,
yeah.
but he's going. It's not going to be a situation where he's not playing.
Yeah.
So there's never a concern I had there.
All right. DK Metcalf.
No concern. But I already.
None at all.
Yeah.
You mean with the contract?
Yeah.
A little concerned.
All right. Let's talk about it.
I mean, there's not much to talk about. It's just a little bit concerned. Number one, they don't have a quarterback.
Right.
Or a decent quarterback. I think Geno will be enough to kind of keep him maybe, low.
Wait, no. We're not talking about his value. We're talking about the contract. Are you concerned with his contract situation? Not his value.
Concerned that he will show up.
Can I work my way there?
You're talking about Geno. Geno
Well,
ain't nothing to do with his contract.
the reason that I'm talking about Geno is because, if you don't have a true quarterback and if you're not contending, you may feel a little bit more comfortable holding out as opposed to if you're a winning team.
Okay, real quick.
You got a veteran quarterback. You have a potential for the Super Bowl. You may not feel as comfortable.
Chris,
holding
name
out.
the rest of your players real quick. How many more is there?
Dalton Schultz, Debo.
Okay.
Most of these guys don't really have.
The reason why I say I'm not concerned because the most recent CBA, they made it where it's extremely difficult, if not impossible, for players to truly hold out.
Yeah.
All right.
So all these players are going to be there once mandatory training camp starts because it's going to be too expensive for them to hold out.
Yeah, but the thing is,
They literally created the CBA to prevent that from happening.
but they can get around that.
But look, the thing
No,
with DK,
they can't.
The thing with DK is he can hold out. He can let the organization know that, hey, I'm not happy here. I'm holding out for a reason because I don't have a contract. And if they don't sign him next year, when they do then offer him a contract, they could either lose him for nothing.
But that's the point I'm making, though. That he can't hold out.
I'm not saying hold out. I'm saying he can let them know that he is not happy and that if they don't sign him, that they may lose him for nothing.
But he's already done that. He's already said he's not happy.
Okay,
with the
exactly.
contract.
So that's why I'm not as comfortable with him maybe coming back to Seattle. Okay? He can still not
So
hold
you're not
out.
comfortable with him coming back?
Yes.
Okay.
He'll show up. But the idea, but for Seattle to just either not sign him or not trade him and get some compensation for it does not make a lot of sense.
They can do that though. He's still under contract.
They can do that, but if you just play out your contract and you don't get anything for this great talent that you had, you don't that's not smart business.
Franchise tag him.
That's not smart. But you can only franchise tag for so long.
Twice.
Okay, and then what?
They could work a contract up until that point. They got time. They got plenty of time.
You burn bridges like that way.
Maybe. At the end of the day, if they end up finally giving him the contract, he's not gonna say, "Well, y'all made me mad. Screw y'all." Look at Devontae Adams. They kept franchising tagging him.
Devontae Adams. Well, they did keep franchising, and they offered him more money than Las Vegas, and he said, "I'm going to Las Vegas."
Right, but what I'm saying is,
they lost.
But what I'm saying is, they kept franchising, so they were able to keep him, and then he got mad, and then he decided to dip. But part of the reason he decided to dip also is, like he said, he was concerned Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to come back. Yeah. If he knew he had that certainty with Aaron Rodgers, most likely he said he was going to stay. So he can be mad all he wants, but once they actually decide, we'll finally.
Guess what Seattle don't got? Aaron Rodgers.
Right. But the point I'm making is they got plenty of time. They have 3 years to negotiate a contract with DK.
Yeah.
3 years of total control over DK.
It's most likely that they'll get something done, but I'm just saying.
All of these guys will get something done. Debo, too. Debo, the reason Debo showed up is because he can't hold out. Yeah. He got to be there. He didn't practice.
Yeah.
Debo was out there, but he didn't practice. Yeah. So he was still, to some extent, holding out.
here's the reason why, like I say, like, is it cause for concern? Are you going to get the Debo that, like, you expect to get if he does not get a contract?
I mean,
if
these guys don't get a contract, it kind of goes back to the point we said earlier in the show. Mm-hmm. Then they have to start playing to show other teams, like, hey.
Your argument with Deontay was that he's going to play to not get hurt.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
It goes both ways.
It can go both ways. It can go both ways. You know, and we'll see.
So if he's playing not to get hurt, then that means he's not necessarily trying to fight for them extra yards.
I mean, we don't know. We don't know. But
I'm not running the ball like if I'm Debo.
Hell no, I'm not running the ball.
These are also
ain't no line me up half. Hell no.
Right. But these are also competitors.
Receiver.
Yeah.
But these are also competitors. If they go out there on the field, helmet on, jersey on, line up, they're not going to say, well, let me start jogging.
That's a great equalizer.
You know, they're not going to let me start jogging around and not catch the ball.
That was my whole argument with Watson.
You
force him to play because he's not going to go out there and just say, oh, you know, I'm not going to play. He'll get his head taken off.
Like think back to all sports. Every sport you could think of. Anybody that's had an issue with their contract.
Let's not include NBA in this.
Let's not include NBA. Other than Harden. Other than James Harden.
I mean, it's not just Harden. Let's not include the whole NBA. John Wall. You seen John Wall doing the Dougie. He's still getting paid off.
Let's focus on NFL.
You got us on John Wall.
Let's focus on NFL. Has there been any player that you've seen go out there and be like, he don't look like he's trying much? Maybe Randy Moss, but it wasn't a contract issue. Randy Moss just unhappy.
I mean, there are players who go out and just kind of like Antonio Brown is not, you know.
I haven't seen it. Every time Antonio Brown's been on the field, he's went off. Because Antonio Brown has that much pride. He's like, I'm the best person in the league. I'm going to show y'all. Even remember that one game he played with the Raiders? He did well. It was one preseason game, I believe. And he did okay. Yeah. The Buccaneers, same thing. I mean, but Antonio Brown's a different type of bird, though. You know?
Also can't have like any John Wall slander. He went to Kentucky, so. You know.
Are you a Kentucky fan?
I'm a UK all day.
Man, no.
You went to University of Kentucky?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Nah. Best of luck to John Wall. He was very he was a good teammate on the bench.
That boy's stealing money. Anyways. But yeah, that's the reason why I'm not concerned with any holdout, because the CBA they negotiated was meant to reduce or eliminate that being an issue. Now the players are going to or let the team know they're not happy with their contract situation, you know, and they might try to stay away from the team as long as possible. But when it's time for the mandatory stuff to occur, because those fines, the team can't comp it or whatever the term is, like ignore it. Yeah. Like they have to be fined. Yeah. Like it's part of the CBA. So that's why I'm not too concerned with any of this stuff.
No. All right, guys. Listen.
Wait. Can I bring up a topic I want to talk about?
Go ahead.
I want to talk a little bit about Alvin Kamara.
All right, let's talk about it.
I think there's a chance now Alvin Kamara. If you've been on Twitter, if you've just been in the know, you've probably seen it a little bit. Mm-hmm. But there's a chance now Alvin Kamara might play the season, the whole season. You know?
We've kind of touched on it a little bit.
And if that's true...
No. That was off the show. We talked about it.
Yeah. And if that's true, then Alvin Kamara is a screaming value right now. Because remember several weeks back when we were talking about Kamara, because I think I literally was asking you, are we certain that he's going to get that suspension? Yeah. And I think we kind of came out
after the show, yeah.
Yeah, we were kind of like, he is going to get the suspension. And then I said, I felt like his ADP at that time was baking in that suspension in you know. He was going back into the second at that time.
Yeah, back in the second, front end of the third.
Right, and then, you know, I was like, okay. And then I think we were talking about it, and you were saying that, or somebody was saying that if he did get suspended, he might go later. And I was like, I don't know. I think where he's going now was people assuming that he is going to be suspended. And if he wasn't suspended, he would probably be going higher. I think that's where we are now. If he's not going to be suspended, I think he's going way, way, way too low. I mean, Alvin Kamara is a guy that we've seen. I mean, this guy scored 6 touchdowns in a game. Nobody else has done it. Yeah. Like, that's the type of talent he is. He's still going to be the focal point of the team's offense.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, I know a lot of people are talking about his, like, reduced efficiency from last year, but I think, you know, so much has changed. You know, number one, he was being used very differently. He was, like, being used kind of as a traditional running back. So, by definition, his efficiency was going to change because he's no longer just a pass catcher back. He got hurt last year, I think, too. Yeah, he was also hurt coming off an injury, but he finished the year, you know, fairly strong. But to me, like, I see this overall offense with the weapons that they added and being able to commit to a Jameis, granted that he's healthy, just rising. And
they lost Jameis too.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's a small sample size, but Carmichael, like what he's done when he has been the play caller while Peyton has been out, you should go back and like really like look at that in detail. Very pass happy. Again, small sample size, but look and see what they've done over the offseason. They assumed or were assuming that they would get Michael Thomas back. They still went out and got Chris Olave with draft picks that they acquired.
I don't understand why they did what they did with that.
Well, they did it though. They did it. Yeah. They went out and got Jarvis Landry as well. They committed to Jameis Winston. Okay, it's no longer like we're like Taysom Hill conservative. They committed to Jameis Winston and paid him as such. This is going to be a pass-happy team. And I don't see that as necessarily a bad thing for Kamara because I see that as more efficiency for Kamara. I see that as an easier avenue for Kamara to obtain these. Because now you have to be worried about this. Remember when they used to have Cook and Michael Thomas? These were two legit receiving options that you had to worry about. And then Kamara was still catching 80 passes a game. Like now we get back to those days where like teams can't necessarily zero in on Kamara. You bring up that point about like him being a value. I mean, we talked about it. Like I was literally getting in drafts to see how late I can get Kamara, like begging for one of those later round picks. And I got fortunate and I have a 4th round Kamara share for that very reason.
Yeah. I don't know if a lot of people listen to our show to where we're going to like change the market.
Let's hope not. Let's keep the viewership low.
If he does not get suspended,
oh yeah, no, seriously. We gotta please like, rate.
We're at the end
subscribe.
Of the show.
Yeah. No, I just want to say,
forget about it. Whatever.
If he doesn't get suspended, man, I think you're just stealing.
Yeah.
With his ADP at this moment.
Yeah.
Man. Like literally just grand theft. But we'll see what happens. I mean, it's still up in the air. I mean, it's still serious accusations. But if he can avoid a suspension of full season.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah.
Woo. So
all right, guys. That's it for this week.
That's it?
Yeah.
That went by quick.
Hey, it's a quick show.
Hey, what was in that drink?
Please like, rate, subscribe.